Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Paula.
Hi, I'm Sarah.
Hi, and I'm Sarah.
And this is our PowerPoint presentation on the comprehensive assessment of spoken language. Amanda will start us off by giving us a little background info.
So we thought we'd start off by giving you guys a little quote. The individualization of learning fundamentally refines the role of assessment by Sebastian Thrun. And we thought this was a great way to kind of introduce our assessment. So in our presentation, we will be discussing the components of the CASL. Currently, there is a second edition. However, we will be talking about the first edition because our clinic does not have the second edition. We will also discuss how the CASL is scored, how it's clinically significant, and how we would administer it. So the CASL stands for the Comprehensive Assessment of Spoken Language, and the author is Dr. Elizabeth Carroll Woolfolk, and it was published in 1999. So some more information about the CASL is that it is administered to clients ages 3 to 21, and it typically takes 5 to 10 minutes for each subtest to be administered, with an average of 45 minutes for the General Language Ability Index. However, this can change based on the client's age and the cooperation of the client. So the instrument's purpose, so we're assessing comprehension, expression, and retrieval of the client, and it targets specific language areas that include semantics, syntax, supralinguistics, and pragmatics, and we better know supralinguistics as metalinguistics, so thinking about language. The purpose is also to measure oral language knowledge as well as processing skills of the client, and can assist speech-language pathologists in understanding relationships between the scores that the client gets and any delays or disorders that may be present in their language. Some subtests that are included in the CASL are antonyms, synonyms, sentence completion, idiomatic language, syntax construction, grammatical morphemes, sentence comprehension, as well as grammaticality judgment, meaning of context, ambiguous sentences, non-literal language, inference, and pragmatic judgment. The next slide will go into further detail based on the manual's description of each subtest, just so you guys get a better idea of what each subtest measures and examines. So now everyone will be joining me to talk about how the composite scores are derived.
So first I'll be talking about the lexical and semantic scores. They are derived from antonyms, synonyms, and sentence completion subtests. This assesses the knowledge and the use of words and word combinations.
So the syntactic scores are derived from the syntax construction, grammaticality judgment, and grammatical morpheme subtests. This assesses knowledge of grammar, morphology, and syntax.
Supralinguistic scores are derived from the non-literal language and meaning from context subtests. This measures comprehension of complex language in which meaning is not directly available from lexical or grammatical information.
The core composite scores are derived from the synonyms, grammaticality judgment, non-literal language, meaning from context, and pragmatic judgment subtests. This measures awareness of the appropriateness of language in relation to the situation in which it is used and the ability to modify language to the situation.
Next, Ginny will be talking about how the CASL is administered.
Important information to know while administering the CASL is that the client's responses include pointing to photos, verbal responses, and answering multiple choice questions. The questions are designed per subtest to go from easy to hard, and the way each question on the subtest are asked include these 3 steps. Number 1, the examiner will ask a question or make a statement. Number 2, the examinee will respond to the clinician. And number 3, the examiner will give feedback to the client. Testing materials include manual, norms book, test book, and record forms. There are 3 test books that include all subtests, and there are 2 record forms that are based on the client's age. Test administration is as follows. First, determine which subtest you're administering. Each subtest includes examples that must be given to the client prior to the beginning of the test. Second, client's age would be the starting point, and from here, you'll determine the basal. If you know the examinee will have difficulty with age-appropriate start items, the clinician may begin testing with an earlier start item. However, if the client gets 3 items correct, this is your starting point or basal. This rule of 3 items correctly answered as the basal is applicable for all subtests. And third, it is important to have the stimulus or photo facing the client and the item text is facing the clinician during administration. For items without pictures, the examinee will see a blank page. And fourth, it is important to note that the examiner may only repeat an item once if the examinee requests a repetition or appears not to have understood the task. However, during the subtest, paragraph comprehension, the stimulus is read twice.
Number 5. During testing, the clinician can also use prompts to elicit a response.
And sixth, when the client scores a 0 on 5 consecutive items within a subtest, the ceiling has been determined. This is the endpoint of the subtest. Seventh, most subtests are scored given 1 for correct or 0 for incorrect or no response. Some items in syntax construction, grammaticality judgment, and pragmatic judgment have multiple point scoring. Specific information for each test can be found in the test manual. And eighth, examiner has the opportunity to indicate language and behavioral observations to help interpret performance in reporting test results. And this is not a testing instrument. The examiner can write these letters when scoring a record form. So when it says P, that's a response followed by a prompt. And R means that the examinee requested a repetition of the stimulus. NR means there is no response from the client, and DK means the examinee does not know the answer. And also, the CASL does not penalize for articulation errors, but speech needs to be intelligible. The normative sample included 1,700 subjects ages 3 to 21 years and 11 months, and that matched the national demographic information for gender, geographic region, socioeconomic status, which is mother's education level, and race or ethnic group. To ensure the representation of population, the sample was selected to match the U.S. Census data from 1994. Prior to the 1,700 subjects that determined the normative sample, 2,750 subjects were used for an item analysis. The next slide shows a comparison between the 1,700 subjects and the 2,750 subjects, as well as the distribution across all ages. Now Paula will be discussing the scoring information for the CASL.
Okay, the specific directions for scoring item responses and recording scores on the record form are listed on the page of each subtest. To calculate the total raw score, first you want to check item scoring and application of Basel and ceiling rules. Second, count the awarded points from the first item to the ceiling. Third, this is determined by counting the number of times one appeared. Remember to include all the points below the Basel. Interpreting the scores includes converting the raw scores to a standard score. So you want to transfer each raw score from the record form to the raw score column in the conversion section. Then you want to open the norm book, locate the section that corresponds to the client's chronological age, and make sure not to round up. Okay, so these are the subtests. And these are the raw scores that were transferred over, and then these are the standard scores for all the subtests. Once you have the raw score converted into a standard score, you can transfer it over into percentiles, confidence intervals, Steinites, normal curve equivalents, and age equivalents. And you can find these both in the norms book or in the manual.
We're good.
All right. So the manual states that the CASL is valid. Construct validity includes developmental progression of scores, intercorrelations of tests, and factors the structures of the indexes. Content validity is the task of each CASL test was selected on the basis of both theoretical design and previous research studies. This allows for the nature and type of disordered language to be identified and subsequent interventions to be planned. The manual claims that the CASL is reliable. Interreliabilities of the CASL test for the age groups at which each test is administered is generally high, ranging from 0.64 to 0.94, with most being in the 80s and the 90s. All reliability data indicates a high degree of homogeneity among items in the test. Within the manual is a list of reliabilities based on the age for all subtests. Test-retest reliability coefficients for the individual test range from 0.65 to 0.96. Within the manual is a list of reliabilities based on the age for all subtests. Now Sarah will be talking about the practical features of the CASL.
The first is that it's an individual administration. Secondly, it's scored by hand and not by a computer. Third, the manual is easy to comprehend and it's divided into clear sections. The CASL has many strengths and weaknesses. For the strengths, the CASL can be used to determine English language competence of ELL students. Scoring is explained before each subtest scoring sheet, which is easier for the examiner to respond quickly to the client. Tests are age-specific and they cover a wide age range. The CASL is easy to administer. The examinee can get meaning from context. The CASL uses a large normative sample. And finally, the supplementary tests allow for quantitative and qualitative diagnostic information. For the weaknesses, the CASL needs other assessments in conjunction with the CASL in order to assess phonology and morphology if necessary. The CASL is outdated in both appearance, images, and reinforcements said to the examinee. The CASL can help SLPs to understand the relationship between an individual's ability scores and any delays or disorders in language. Individuals representing the perspectives of African Americans, Asians, Hispanics, Native Americans, and women reviewed the content of the CASL during development, and changes were made following these reviews. Artwork was considered in the decision-making process. This is a picture of the CASL2. This is what's included. It's a new and updated version, and they changed some of the content. Unfortunately, we don't know a lot about it because we don't have access to it. We discussed how to administer the CASL, how to score the CASL, the components of the assessment, and determined if it was both valid and reliable. These are our references. We overall evaluate this as
10 out of 10.
5 stars
and 2 thumbs up.
Thanks for listening.